Hello quilty friends and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and I make videos about quilting and my creative life. Anywhere that you can find me on the web is listed down in the description box below the video. And we'll just get all the boring admin out of the way first. If you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're not already, because all of my details say that about 50% of you who watch aren't subscribed. So please hit the subscribe button. It's completely free of charge. It just helps me out. Now, although Christmas in my mind and in my sewing room is in full swing, we need to backtrack a little bit to an autumn project that I've started and not finished. So this is the Mothkeepers journal quilt, and this is a kit from Alice Caroline, and it's a mixture of applique and traditional piecing. Well, frankly, half square triangles is all of the other things. The half square triangles that run between the design is completely like a freestyle element. You can orientate the half square triangles as they've done in the pattern, or you can go ahead and do your own thing, which is what I did, and I really like it. This quilt is for my sister. It's a wonderful quilt. I've basted it all up and I'm ready to quilt it. Now, my first mistake was asking for the opinion of a non-quilter as to how they would like it quilted. Don't ever do that, because they're going to come out with something that is impossible, which is pretty much what's happened here. So the quilt is made up of these applique panels, and I had a few ideas. I wanted to do a Baptist fan across the whole thing, or something, just something else other than what she's asked for. So she doesn't want any quilting on the white of the applique. She actually didn't want any quilting in this whole panel, and I said that's not possible because it's such a large area, it needs some quilting. So we've settled on quilting around the applique shapes, and then the white is going to be left blank, which in some areas still is a bit too big. Probably not for the wadding. You can quilt the wadding up to 8 inches apart, and I will stitch in the ditch around the start of the frame, so that will be okay. But yeah, I'm going to free motion around everything to try and hide the stitching. Now I've got my new machine. I've done a little practice. This will be the first full free motion quilt that I've quilted in its entirety. I've only done small things before. Secondly, first time I've done free motion on this machine. I've done a little practice sample though, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Yeah. So I've got lots of panels to do. There'll be lots of tying in the thread ends and things, and I've just got a brown Laurie Holt fabric on the back. I did have a nice piece of Liberty, but it was a few inches too short and I couldn't be bothered to piece anything into it, so I've just put a piece of fabric on the back. Having now discovered how she wants it quilted, I wish that I'd had the conviction to follow through with my initial idea. So this is raw edge applique, and my initial idea was just fuse the applique down at the point of making the blocks. So just fuse the applique down, and then at the point of quilting, quilt along the very edge of the design, therefore quilting and stitching the applique down at the same time. I wish I'd have just done that, because now I've got to go back round and stitch in the ditch next to the applique. So I thought I'd bring you along with me. I'm going to start with that first, stitching in the ditch next to all of the applique, and then I think I'm just going to do some straight lines in the ditch. Not all of my points match up very well, so I don't know how that will go, but yes, I'm just going to stitch in the ditch just along all of these lines, because the lines don't make 100% sense. They're not all joined up, you know, they're higgledy-piggledy. So let's tackle the free motion first. And hey, if my free motion stitches aren't perfect, at least it will be in the ditch, hopefully. So I'm going to use a white thread. I've got a grey on the back, a very light off-whitey grey. I'm just going to stick with that because I think it will blend in to the backing fabric a little bit better than white. It will just merge in, hopefully. I am a bit nervous to make such a commitment on a relatively new machine. I mean, I've had it about 3 weeks, a month or so now. It's got plenty of throat space, so this is the perfect one to start with. and I think I should just go ahead and start. In the centre of the quilt is some small moths, so these are going to be great to start with. So we've got 3 small moths there, so I'm going to start with those. I don't know what I'll do about the antennas. I think I'll just skip those. So let's get this under the machine. I think I've got enough throat space on this machine not to need to roll it up. I can just bunch it up. It's only 60 by 60, this quilt. Now I am going to have to put my glasses on. I've not been wearing my glasses because of the glare in the videos, but for the actual sewing, the glasses have got to go on. Got all my settings set up. I'm going to try one without the gloves because I've recently been taking a ruler class, and the lady recommends not always using gloves unless you are always a glove wearer. So I'm going to try without. It might hurt my hands, but we'll give it a try. So I've done 1 stitch to bring up the thread, and then to retrieve the thread I like to use a seam ripper because it's just got a nice little hole on it, hasn't it? Although something inside me tells me I should use tweezers to pull up the thread then. There we go. Going to do a few. Stopping the needle down position, and I do think I want my gloves. It's actually much easier with the gloves. I think I'm going to turn the speed down on the machine a touch. Oh, it's put me up to full speed. I think the advantage to this is the applique is going to puff up because there'll be no quilting holding the applique down. No quilting holding the white next to it down either, but what I've just done is I've just cut off my starting thread, so I don't have to bury that thread, but what I'll do is I'll make sure I stitch over the starting point, and then the end threads will be the ones that I bury. Just means I'll have 2 to bury instead of 4 then. I don't know if I'm supposed to do something to bring my bobbin up at the end. I think I need to because I need to cut this now. I don't know. That already looks so nice and puffy. I'm going to do the other 2 that's in this little panel. I'll do my stitch around the edge. No, I don't think I'll do the stitch around the edge because I need to put the walking foot on for that. But yeah, let me do a few more and I'll come back to you and I'll show you. I think this might actually be fun. It's supposed to be fun, isn't it? That's what we need to remember. It is actually supposed to be fun. I did forget to say, if you fancy making this quilt as well, I will leave a link for it in the video description. It is an affiliate link that will take you directly to the Alice Caroline website, and I do receive a small kickback from any purchases that you make of the kit, so I do really appreciate your support if you choose to do that. The amount of daylight sewing hours that we have here in the UK is just dwindling so fast. We must only have about 6 hours of daylight at the moment, so I feel like I'm constantly sewing in the dark, which is handy because for my birthday a couple of weeks ago my sister bought me an LED desk lamp, and it's like dimmable, adjustable, you can tilt it and things, so it is really brilliant. This is with the light on, that's my light, and I've got the lamp on, and then that's without the lamp. So it really makes a big difference to my working space. I'm pretty sure she would have bought it on Amazon, but I don't want to go looking for the link or ask her for the link because it was a birthday gift. And I doubt it was one of these super expensive ones. So if you are also struggling like I was, give it a try. An LED desk lamp. You can get them with clamps and all sorts of things to whatever you need to suit your space. And they are usually, you've got a setting on there that's usually pretty much close to daylight. So I've now stitched around all of the motifs, stitched in the ditch next to them, and now I'm stitching in the ditch next to these borders that are around each of the applique blocks. I've never stitched in the ditch. It's not something that I would ever usually do, because if I'm going to put all this effort into quilting, I want to be able to see it. Part of me was just thinking I might as well just hand tie this quilt, but I don't think she would have gone for that. It might have been a little bit easier, but it's given me practice on the machine, and I quite enjoyed the free motion. I loved the sound of it, just little sound of the machine. It was quite soothing actually. I've been checking the back. I've smoothed out the very last row because there's only 3 rows on the quilt. I've smoothed out the back on the 3rd row, so the bottom row that I'm currently working on, because there is a little bit of fullness still in the back, and there will be because the quilting is quite sparse. You know, you would usually take any of that fullness out with the quilting. There's not any pleats or anything so far, fingers crossed, but it wouldn't be a machine quilt if there wasn't going to be a pleat in the back or anything. I find that much easier to avoid when you're hand quilting rather than machine quilting. You can't see what's going on, can you? But I've been smoothing it out because I've been doing a lot of this, bunching it up, and I was worried that the basting spray might not be 100% doing its job. I mean, this machine has got a good amount of throat space. I think it might be 13 inches, maybe a touch more, but no amount is ever enough, is it? It's still in the way, but it's good that I've got good hand space either side before the quilt's bunching up. And I dare say if I rolled it up it would be a lot easier, but with all this moving around, flopping and changing sides, can't be bothered. Right, well, this will be me for the next few hours, and I'll share with you when I come to attach the binding. I'm hoping to do the binding tomorrow, and it's actually this green fabric that's here on this border. I think anyway, I've put the binding up now, but I'll get it out, hopefully get it attached tomorrow. And then this quilt will be well on the way to finished, and I will wash it before I give it to her, because I'm interested to see how the lack of quilting will show up, or if the applique will puff up a bit. So it's my favourite part of the quilt, the binding. Well, I always say it's my second favourite part. Actually starting the quilts and picking out all the fabric is my favourite part. I did have to change the binding fabric because the fabric in the kit was this lovely green colour, and I've put the pattern away now. I couldn't get to where I'd put the pattern so neatly away. And I don't think it was double fold binding that they gave you enough fabric for, and there wasn't enough fabric for the width of binding or double fold that I wanted to do, so I just changed it for another green fabric, the green fabric that I was going to use as the backing. So it does go quite nicely with the project, and I've got that little bit of extra left over from the kit. I did find the kit to be quite generous with the fabric. There was one fabric, I think it was one of the mushrooms, like the really big mushroom. I did have to substitute one of the fabrics because I didn't cut it right. I didn't have enough fabric left to cut such a big piece out of, but there was cutting diagrams in the pattern. It was completely my fault. I have recently been practicing machine binding the stitching to the back, but I don't think I've gotten too bad with it. I've been doing quite a few mini quilts, and sometimes when I make bags I've been doing it in bags, but I just think for a quilt it's going to give a really nice flawless finish. So I'm just going to take a couple of hours just to sew the binding to the back. For a quilt this size, it's only 60 inch. It generally takes about 45 minutes per side. So not too bad. I'll get it done this evening, and my aim is to launder it tomorrow morning, and then I'll come back and share with you what the finished quilt looks like, which I am really interested to see how it washes up and how it's going to crinkle and things like that, because usually you get the crinkle in between the quilting stitches, but the quilting stitches are quite far apart. Of course I'll give the warning. I did say to my sister at the time, like, oh, it's not always the best for longevity, but it's what she wanted, so if it doesn't last as long, she's had the warnings. To be honest, I think she will use it over the back of a chair just as like a display quilt, really, rather than a functional one. So if she washes it a couple of times a year, that'll be it, because it'll just be draped over the back of a chair and not actually used. And I've just remembered I've got the job of sewing in the knots. Great. I'm really pleased with how the quilt turned out. It turned out really puffy, whereas usually you add quite a bit of quilting and it makes a quilt quite dense, so I am pleased with that. There are quite a bit of wrinkles in the white area, and I assume that with washing and laundering that will only get more crinkled. I did tumble dry this quilt because I know that's how my sister will launder it as well. I really like trying new techniques and pushing myself out of my comfort zones rather than just doing things that I'm familiar with, so I'm going to try and do more and more of the free motion quilting and see where that takes me. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.